Hey, what's going on, guys? Dylan from Flight Performance and Fitness. I'm going to give you a little blueprint for training the core for combat sports or jiu-jitsu. So the biggest things with combat sports is we want to be able to train the core to resist movement, and then we also want to train the core to create movement. So meaning flexion, extension, rotation of the spine. We also want to be able to put some muscle here so we have some armor as far as just the contact of the sport. So I'm going to show you a couple different variations for each of those kind of movements, being able to resist movement and also creating movement. All right, so the first and kind of most simple variation is just going to be what we call a bear hold. So what I'm going to do, and I'll show you from different angles, put hands right under the shoulders, I'm going to tuck my hips, and then I'm just going to bring my knees up 1 inch. So one cue here too before we even go up is really reaching for my shoulder blades. I want to spread those apart. So I'm just going to hold this for about 30 seconds. I'm just thinking about really putting all the weight to my abs. I'm gonna show you from the other angle here. Hips being tucked, abs on, all right? So one thing to make this a little more difficult is we're gonna resist some rotation as well, okay? So I'll set up in that same bear hold, put the dumbbell right next to my hand on this side, tuck up. I'm gonna come up here, and what I'm trying to do is resist too much movement. So I don't want my hips moving, rotating, or shifting side to side. I'm just keeping abs on as I pull that dumbbell through. All right, this is gonna be called what we call a half sit-up iso. So really easy setup. You can do it anywhere at your house or whatever. Digging my heels in and my toes in against the wall to start. I want like about a 90-degree angle from my heel to my knee to my hip here. I'll start tall with my chest, and then I'm just gonna slowly lean back. So I'm trying to find my abs here, stay tall through my spine, and I'm just gonna find that spot where it starts to get really difficult to hold my position, and then I'm gonna hold that. I'll reach my arms straight up, and I'm looking to hold this 30, 45 seconds, okay? So you can see already I'm shaking a little bit. Your abs should be working pretty hard just to lock in position. If I wanna make it harder, I can go farther and farther down, okay? So to progress this, we're gonna go through some rotation in that position. So nothing should move through my legs and my hips, and it's all just gonna be those ribs rotating. So I can grab a little bit of weight here. I'll still get back into that position, that isolated position, and then I'm just rotating the same way I would if I was doing like a Russian twist, except this is gonna be really controlled. So I'm just moving through my ribs, but I'm teaching that core to be able to create some movement here through my obliques. All right, another good stability exercise for the core where we're resisting that lateral flexion is going to be a side plank. I'm sure most people have done this before. I'm going to show you a progression to this as well. So first thing is going to be elbow right under the shoulder. So actually when we're setting up on the ground here, I want that elbow a little bit inside, because when I come up, that's going to line me up. I'm pushing myself away from the ground as much as I can here. Hands on the hips, and I want the straight line from my head to my heel here. So it should be really tall, and then I'm trying to crunch up with this side, all right? So the progression of this is going to be getting some movement. So I'll go hands on my hips here. I'm gonna try to dip my hips down and then drive up, all right? So the motion is really coming from my ribs, all right? So I'm driving my hips, bringing it up, all working through the abs. I wanna go kind of controlled both ways. Think about that this side bending motion will also be a little bit more stressful on the shoulder, so we wanna make sure we're really being active, pushing the ground away from you the whole time. So this next exercise is going to be a half kneeling rotation. I'm using a med ball here. If you don't have access to that, you can, anything that's 5 to 10 pounds. We don't want it to be too heavy, but we want to have it enough load that you're really going to feel your core here. So half kneeling, I'm going to set my hips in place, set my core in place. I got this med ball reaching out here. So first off, I'm going to start by doing this really slow. My hips aren't moving, but I'm just trying to rotate my ribs here. The key with this is not doing arms with the motion. I'm just rotating ribs. Imagine I have a laser pointer on my chest and I want to try to get about 45 degrees here both ways. So I'm starting here slow, and then if I want to increase intensity, I'm keeping everything locked in, and I'm going hard rotations through the ribs while everything else stays locked in. With this one, you're going to be feeling a lot of obliques is what we're looking to feel. All right, so this one's gonna be what we call a reverse sit-up. So this is one where we're gonna be creating that flexion of the spine, but doing it through our abs in a controlled position. Okay, so I'm gonna start off on the ground. I can grab anything that's stable, a rack, something at your house that's not gonna move. I'm gonna grab up here. First, I'm gonna start by just bringing my knees to my chest. And I'm doing it through tucking my hips, So I should already start to feel my abs working a little bit. And then I'm just gonna slowly pull my knees up, pull my hips off the ground, pulling my knees to my elbows. And then I'm gonna slowly lower, kind of one vertebrae at a time here, using my abs. And I'll just stop right when my knees are right at my hips, bring my knees right to my chest again, and then I'm gonna pull it up again. So if that's too difficult, then you're just gonna come here, try to bring the hips off the ground, and then slowly lower. So as long as we're just getting some active movement through that flexing of the spine and doing it through our abs. All right, so this is gonna be another one where we're gonna start off by just resisting rotation, and then I'm gonna create some rotation. So it doesn't need to be a super heavy weight on this. It's a lot harder than it looks. Locking my hips in, tucking my hips. I'm gonna press out slow, and I'm gonna try to resist letting that cable pull me this way, okay? So I'm just gonna stay really tall and lock in this position, going straight out. All right, the next step, I'm gonna create some rotation, okay? So I'm locking in this, hips stay square. I can go both ways to make it difficult. Rotating across my knee. Again, work is not being done through the arms, it's being done through my obliques. So I'm keeping my hands right in front of my chest the whole time. No movement through those hips. This is what we call, like, we have some suitcase variations here, some lateral core stuff, and then we're gonna do some loaded side bends. So the first thing we can do is just suitcase hold here, right? So I'm resisting this kettlebell pulling me this way, bracing, tucking my hips under. I should feel abs on this side, and then I can go through some marches here, shifting the weight over. All right, so I'm learning how to resist motion here, and I'm just keeping everything stiff through my core. Okay, so I can do marches. I can go for a walk here, suitcase carries. I'm sure you've seen that. The next thing we're gonna do is some loaded side bends. So this one is a little bit more advanced and a little bit harder to do. So we wanna be a little careful when we're trying to execute it, but I'm still gonna show you how to do it. Everything's braced in, just like that suitcase hold. And now I'm gonna let this weight pull me a little bit, but I'm doing it slow and controlled through a brace. So I'm gonna let this pull me, let this stretch, these tissues over here, and then I'm gonna squeeze. So I'm not getting a whole lot of motion through my hips here. I'm actually going just through my rib cage. So I'm letting this weight pull me, let these tissues stretch, squeeze up. Same thing, slow coming down, letting this stretch, squeeze up, okay? That one we can start to easily stress the QL here, this lower back muscle on that side. That's why we gotta make sure we're in a good position to start and really control the motion the whole time. All right, this next exercise is gonna be basically leg lifts, hanging leg raises. So what's nice about these, or what's really important about these, especially if you're more of a guard person for jiu-jitsu, is going to be integrating the hip flexors and the core muscles together. So being able to actually go through a lot of hip flexion and knee flexion while we integrate our core. So if we have these kind of straps, that's awesome. We'll hang from here, but I'm going to show you another version as well. Start with the hips tucked under. Feet can start a little bit in front of your hips. That way you'll be in a better core position to start. And then I'm just going to think about tucking my hips up and pulling my knees to my chest. Slow control on the way down. If I want to make this harder, I'll bring my knees up first, straighten out, and then really slow down. So I want to really limit how much rocking I'm doing here. That's why I'm doing a little bit of a light touch with my feet at the bottom, just to stabilize myself so I can be more active on the way up. So the other option, a lot of people aren't going to have these kind of straps, is just to do this hanging. So the only thing that's not so great about this is grip can kind of be the limiter, but obviously working on your grip is a positive anyway. So you can just do shorter reps, or not lower reps and more sets of it. But hanging from here, hips tucked under, nothing changes about the technique. It's just going to be a little bit different as far as the grip demand.